That's Andy. Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. We finally have some news. Delighted, Cardiff City are delighted to announce that first team manager Errol Bulut has officially signed a 2-year extension to his existing contract. We are going to talk about it, among many other things, I'm sure. But it's nice to finally get it over the line. It feels like the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks have been forever. And yes, I was 5 minutes late. Again, it's like fashionable at this point. No, actually, it's Matthew Angel's fault. He told me to be 5 minutes late because he's got to go and pick his daughter up. So blame him. So as always, please make sure you are liked, subscribed, all that good stuff to the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Particularly the YouTube channel is on a big upward curve. Obviously, it's a new channel. It's growing all the time. So we're trying to find all Cardiff City fans that we can find. 7 days a week of content. All year round. 7 days a week. Cardiff City content every day. We will put out at least one thing every day. And as more people get involved, as the channel grows, it'll become more than one thing a day. We'll have live show in the night. We'll have content in the day. It is constant. If you haven't already, check out the history of Cardiff City with official club historian Terry Phillips, former South Wales Echo, former Wales Online, now happily retired, but we're doing a bit for Cardiff City World, which is beautiful. He's Cardiff City's official historian, and he's doing some great stuff. What was the most so this week, or last week, should I say? He did the 1993 promotion at Scunthorpe, which was a great episode. Unfortunately, due to some technical errors and issues, I couldn't put some photos up with that, which is a bit of a shame. But the next one, which is coming sometime this week, is on Tommy Best, the first black player to ever play for Cardiff City. And that is a belter, and it's fully edited with images and whatnot. And it's a real good episode. We obviously had Pan join us last week as well. The Flower Hour is a blockbuster this week. Tomorrow night on the Flower Hour, 7 p.m, slightly earlier time. Their former Wales and Cardiff City midfielder, Mr. John Robinson, is joining them, which I'm very, very happy to say. That's going to be another quality show with the boys. They've been killing it. Wednesday, Saturday, every week, the Flower Hour. They got quizzes. They have a bit of a laugh, bit of a giggle, but they also talk Cardiff City. It's all good. And if you have not got your tickets for Joe Ledley, it is coming around super quick. 6th of July, Ace Podcast Nation presents City Legends event with former Wales, Celtic, Cardiff City midfielder, Mr. Joe Ledley. If you haven't been to one of these events that we put on and host and promote, you've missed out, truly. We've done Darren Pearce, Andy Campbell, Michael Chopra, and Willie Boland was the most recent. They are phenomenal evenings for Cardiff City fans. And I know, of course, I'm biased because I'm hosting it and promoting it. But what I can say to you, genuinely, is even if I wasn't, I would still go because they are superb. You get like an hour or so of just stories from the player and banter and a good laugh, have a little break, and then the floor gets opened. So even with the Joe Ledley one, which is the biggest one we've done yet in terms of numbers, like there'll be a microphone going around for people to ask questions. Joe's going to hang around for a few drinks afterwards and stuff. It's going to be a top night. If you're a City fan, particularly of that era, it's a no-brainer. And then we've got 2 to be announced come September, November, one for September, one for November, and absolute like top-notch guests. And again, if you're of that era as well, if you've grown up in that era, they're particularly special. But even if you haven't and you're a younger generation or slightly older generation, they're phenomenal nights. You hear some great stories, you have a good laugh, you can have your picture taken, you can have some stuff signed, whatever. And they're just £10, like 10 quid for a night out at bargain. And Splott Cons Club, 6th of July, Joe Ledley. There is a few tickets left. Most of them have gone, but there is a few left. The contact details are below. There's an email address and whatnot. So you just come on down, say hello, join us, and it'd be great to put some names to some faces. But let's talk about what we're here to talk about. You know, at the end of the day, we've waited long enough to like officially talk about it. It's felt like about 6 times there's been rumours going around. And what I will say, not to blow my own trumpet and blow Ace Podcast Nation's trumpet a little bit again, is that members of Ace Podcast Nation knew the details yesterday. They knew that it was done. They knew the length of the deal, assistant manager, etc. And then we had also had some news a couple of weeks back as well. I hate that in the no culture, as I've said many times, and just not really for me at all. However, what I will do is, because the members are the ones who support the channel and they pay for the membership each month and stuff like that, they get early access to tickets, they get exclusive shows, and then if I do hear some stuff, I'll just chuck it up there as like a little bonus for them. It's not like a regular thing, but it is what it is. I appreciate them because they allow us to start a second channel, to have a Cardiff City channel, and to really start building and on the upward curve. But if you want to join, patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation, price of a coffee per month, well worth it, especially as we get into transfer season. Could be good fun. So yeah, Cardiff City put out a statement around midday today, and that's the greatest comment. That is the greatest comment I think I've seen, certainly in the last week. Raniero Garcia says, I think the club's completely rushed into this decision. Yeah, quality. So they announced it, 2-year deal. What do you guys think of it? Do you know what I did float the idea with Pan on Friday, just to plug our shows on a Friday night. Myself and Pan do a live show Friday. We're doing it in person this week as well. But then what was interesting about that show with Pan is me and him don't agree on everything. There's certain things we do agree on. There's certain things we disagree on. So it was not heated, but like there was a good, healthy debate, and I enjoyed that. I like that back and forth, and you can kind of delve deep into the points. But one of the things, as we were talking, which I kind of floated the idea of, and maybe it's the cynic in me, is if you go back 5 weeks, is it, since the end of the season, to that last Rotherham game, what would you say the split was in terms of behind Bulut and not being sure of him? Some people didn't want him. What do you reckon? 75-25 in favour, maybe 70-30 in favour. Now, I would argue now that in favour of him has definitely raised slightly, because a lot of the people who I saw who weren't on board with him in the last couple of weeks have kind of been more on the side of getting him. So is it very clever PR from the football club? Now, clever and PR and organisation is not always something which I would associate with Cardiff City, let's be honest. We talk about it a lot. We seem to be a very reactive club. However, what I've read, what I've heard, what I've seen over the last 48 hours or so has been quite encouraging. Not just the fact that we finally got a manager signed, not just the fact that we actually had a statement from the owner, which is a very rare thing in itself, but also there was a clear mention of foundations being laid, backroom changes, transfers. And someone had said to me probably about a week ago that one of the reasons it's taking so long is because there's a lot of moving parts, not necessarily just with his contract. He's clear he wanted, at least 2 years with maybe an option for a third. He wanted to know what his budget was, what he was going to be working with. He wanted to know that he was going to be backed. He wanted to know that he could bring in some of the backroom changes into the structure of the club to make things better in his eyes. He wanted that. Okay. So there was that side of it. But I think they've also been working on things like, right, which players within this squad are sellable? Which players are in this squad we don't really want to sell, but we will if we get X amount? Which players are expendable? Right, no, we can let them go, whether it's free or whether it's sold. And then the other side of it, we've been looking on the channel at the free transfers and the list of players. I would like to think that the club has been looking at that list and working through it, contacting agents. Yes, the window's not officially open, but it's open, isn't it? Let's be honest. And I think you have to act fast. We've talked about that. You have to act fast with these free transfers because they'll be gone. Mid-July, the best ones will be gone, or certainly a lot of them. Same thing with transfers. Wouldn't it be nice if Cardiff City, as soon as that window opened, like in the first week or a couple of weeks, bang, 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 so and so in, so and so out, and we actually, by the time we actually start playing preseason games, we pretty much had the squads, as is. Maybe need one, maybe need two, but the squad is good. You've got some ins, you've got some outs. But in order for this to work long term, let's talk about the football side predominantly. In order for Errol Bulut's era at Cardiff City, because I believe his period now, his era has started. Last year was a temporary thing. He was on a 1-year deal. Now his era has begun. He's got a 2-year deal. I think he's got an option for a third, or the club have got an option for a third. So all things going well, he can build something. He set us up nicely with that first season. I think, as I've said all season in the reviews and on the breakdown and 5 things and stuff like this, and we've said on the other shows, you have to, you can be bullet in, which I have been all the way through, but also you have to. He can still be criticised. Like, you can criticise his decision making, you can criticise some of the football he's playing, but you have to weigh it up with everything. You have to weigh it up with what he's got available. You have to weigh it up with what he's been backed with, injuries. You have to weigh it up with the uncertainty of his job. Maybe that at the end of the season, maybe that was why there was a bit of reluctance, or it was a bit slow to get the youngsters involved, because he felt like he was playing for his job. I see Jeremy's just put a comment there. He says, I appreciate the contract term means nothing in football, but I would love to be here in 2 years' time with Errol Bulut as our manager, as this means we've had success and we've moved forward. 100%, mate, 100%. And I think, look, the criticism of the style of football, it is a fair one. There was points, particularly post-Christmas, where the football was kind of slow and turgid and very sideways and very backwards. But I think when you make that criticism, you also have to acknowledge that at the start of the season, that same type of football was excellent and it worked very well and gave the manager and the team a lot of success with performances and results. So, in my opinion, there was a couple of things which really affected that style of play, going from having some passing and possession play, but with purpose and with a bit of guile and creativity. Then post-Christmas, it did become a bit sideways and a bit backwards and a lot slower. And I think there's a few different reasons for that tactically. So one of the big reasons, which I think people maybe don't always acknowledge, is Mark McGuinness's injury, I think, had a massive effect on it. Because when you look at the kind of back 4, back 5, he was the defender who would bring the ball forward and play through the lines, or play like a switch ball out to the opposite side. He has that passing range as a defender to progress the play a bit quicker. He can pop it into Cyprus and then take it back under pressure. Whereas I think Gutas, for instance, isn't as comfortable receiving the ball under pressure. He can, but also I don't think he's as good as McGuinness is. Phillips, I think, is excellent. I would be I'd be happy if we brought Phillips back for another season on loan. I think it's unlikely because I think he's only got a year left. And if you give me the choice of Kipre on a free or Phillips, I would choose Kipre. Maybe people disagree. What would you like? Maybe it's hypothetical, obviously, but like, what do you guys think? If you had to choose one, Kipre on a free or Phillips, which one would you pick? So I'm kind of interested in that. I'm going to have a look at some of these comments. Renario Garcia says, Bulut needs to back his ideas up now when playing at home. He's got no excuses from now on. So just I will address that comment now, but it kind of falls into what I was going to say. So going on to what I was saying about the change from the start of the season to post-Christmas. McGuinness, big issue. Obviously, we lost Ramsey. But I think one of the biggest issues you have to accept is he's done a whole season without a number 9. And all right, you had Ugbo. With the greatest of respect to him, shite. He did have a little bit of a knack, and I think he showed it at Sheffield Wednesday. And we talked about it right at the start of the season when he bagged a couple of goals. He does seem to just have a knack of being in the right place at the right time to get the rebounds and just be there, which is a good trait to have as a striker. But he offered little to nothing else. So that's why they let him go at Christmas. And then you've got Atete. Probably showed glimpses for 2 or 3 games when he had that little purple patch, scored 3 or 4 goals. Very, very good goals. The 2 goals he scored against Blackburn, I always point to. Those were eye-openers for me because the technical ability that those goals took, I was like, okay, maybe now I can see what the manager's seeing in him, because he did seem to fancy Atete over the others. So if he's doing that in training, I can understand it. The problem is he's physically not strong enough, mentally not strong enough. He needs a loan. I would loan him. I know some people would sell him. I would loan Atete. And then who do you have? You have like Jeju. Again, with the greatest of respect, didn't look like a footballer at times. Really struggled. There was games towards the end of the season, did try hard, and he got his goal and the rest of it. But to me, he's just never up to the standard, never looked up to the standard, which is a big shame. And he felt like a player where the club and the board just wanted to get him a striker, and that was all they could get him late in the window. But he's done a whole season without a striker. If Robinson has not fallen out with a manager as much as he has over the season and had disciplinary issues, could he have been the guy? Could he have been the guy to play through the middle? Because I said at the start of the season when we did the preview at the start of the season, I felt like he was the best finisher at the club. I felt like he could probably the best option for number 9, but he never played that. Even when he did play, he played number 10. It was a weird one, but I just don't get it. So we absolutely have to get him a number 9. It needs to be a number 9 that he thinks can play in his system. Now, I'm sure we've all got theories about different things he could do, different systems he could play. Like we had one suggested the other day of playing almost like a false 9 with Colwell and Ashford behind him. I think that would work really well, particularly with the way Bulut likes to play football by getting on the ball. But you need movement off the ball. And one of the other things that really changed as the season went on was our movement off the ball. At the start of the season, if you go back and watch the games, every time someone's got the ball, there's options, there's people running in behind, there's movement. And then you watch the end of the season and it's just boom, boom, boom. And that was disappointing. So just going to, I think it was Renario's comment, I apologise, I've lost it now, about the home form. He absolutely has no excuse now in terms of the way he approaches the home games has to be fundamentally different. We said a few times towards the end, in the second half of the season, there's an opportunity at home where people were getting a bit frustrated with the kind of defensive football. There was an opportunity to line up really attacking on some of those midweek games. I think it was Blackburn where we said play Tanner or don't drop Colwell and play these stupid 3 holding midfielders. Play an attacking young team, because when that comes through to the crowd an hour before kickoff, that automatically lifts the atmosphere for the first 10 minutes. And then if we press and we play with purpose like we did at the start of the season, that instantly the crowd will get up. The crowd will get up. There's a thin line between the crowd will respond to what's on the pitch. So if it's all slow and pensive and defensive, then the crowd is kind of subdued and quiet if that's how the team plays. If the team is aggressive and in your face, that's what the fans are like. However, there's a thin line between that, because I think whilst there's a responsibility to entertain and a responsibility to play a certain way at home, there's also a responsibility for fans to support the team. Because when the team is rubbish or not doing well, that's when they need the fans the most. What they don't need is the moans and the groans, because it just creates more anxiety, creates more issues. But it's on both sides. The players need to get the fans up, the fans need to get the players up. And I think Bulut absolutely has to improve the way he goes about his business at home. Has to be more aggressive, has to be, the press has to be much higher, and it's got to be consistent throughout the season. Some really interesting comments. I'm going to try and fly through some of them. Jeremy says, at the recent Cardiff City supporters AGM, Jason Perry certainly had the impression that we'd be better off without Kiefer Moore. So Kiefer Moore is an interesting one, because it all seemed like it was nailed on for him to come in January, because we'd only just missed out on him in the summer. And from that moment, that literally the hour after the window closed in the summer, people were texting me, and I was getting these messages, and I know other people were getting them as well, saying like it only fell through because of another deal, and we're going to go back in January. It's going to be, it'll be, and I expected him, as soon as the embargo was lifted, I almost expected like a very quick deal to be done with him, and they just kept dragging and dragging and dragging, whether it was money or whatever, and he's taken his opportunity to go to Ipswich. We did have this discussion the other day. Someone said, would you go back in for him? And my response is, I'm not wasting all that time chasing him again. I would ask his agent or him the question and say, do you want to come? If you want to come, it's got to be a yes or a no. If it's yes, get it done and get it done early. If it's no, then move on. We can't be wasting time on it. I think he would be a good asset to the team. He scores in the Championship. He's physical. He's decent. So from a football point of view, I think he ticks a lot of boxes. However, I do also think there's other strikers who might enable us to be a bit more aggressive in the way we play. So I certainly wouldn't be wasting time chasing Kiefer. I'd be asked the question. I think that's the kind of responsible thing to do, if you like. Are you available? Do you want to come? But it's got to be a quick conversation. None of this on deadline day still like, where's he going to go? Is he going to come? I think there's other players straight away. Jonathan's mentioned a couple of times in the comments recently about Ryan Hardy. Plymouth striker Ryan Hardy, when he played against us, looked perfect for the Bulut style, and might want to jump ship with Rooney there. Yeah, you've got to ask the question, mate. There's a few strikers around. You've got to ask the questions. Jeff says, Atete will surprise next year if we keep him in the squad. Bulut doesn't try to use him like we did last year. My thing for Atete, mate, is he needs games. And in my opinion, and you might disagree and others might disagree, the best thing for us to do is loan him out to a League One club and try and have a rough agreement that he's going to play week in, week out. Because I think it will toughen him up physically, toughen him up mentally. But I also think he's got the technical ability to score a lot of goals. Strikers breed of confidence. So if he can go somewhere and play week in, week out, get knocked about a bit, score goals, I think we'll see a better version of him, because I do think there's a player there, but we can't rely on him to be our number 9. I don't think. I hope he proves. I would love it if Bulut keeps him. He starts as our number 9 and goes and scores 20 goals. I would love it to be proved wrong, but I just think at the moment he is not ready to be our first choice striker. I think technically there's a player there. Same with Ashford. We don't. Alex Sloper Road Blues just said there, no need to rush Ashford either. We can't rely on him. Seen loads say that he'll start next season. So on that, in my opinion, again, so people might disagree, I believe that we need 2 options for right wing, 2 options left wing, 2 options right fullback, left fullback. I would like to see a first choice in both those positions, like a right winger. But I would like Ashford to be the backup. I would like to see a right back. Whether that's, if it's Perry NG, great, he stays. If we sell Perry NG, get someone in, hopefully Cody Dramer, and then Conte be the backup. Same on the left side. If Jamal Collins is the first choice, then I would like to see Louis Giles or someone be the backup. I want Cardiff's DNA to be using these young, talented footballers. So you have your first choice, but let's use the young players at the backup. Some of the players we've got at the moment, not only are they highly rated, but they've come in at the end of the season and done a really good job. Conte was just really caught my eye. I thought he was so good. Louis Giles was really good. Ashford, really good. Joel Colwell, I think, probably needs a loan just to bulk up a little bit. But technically, and he's so highly rated. But I want it to be in our DNA that we're relying on these players and giving them minutes. And let's give them minutes from the start of the season. So, if our right back needs, he's blowing a bit at the start of the season, let's give Conte 20 minutes. If Collins is struggling a bit, 20 minutes to go, let's give Louis Giles a go, or whoever. Let's use these young players and give them minutes so that when the time comes that they start and they become regular starters for this football club, they are they've got minutes in the bank at first team level. It's not a shock to the system. They are ready and they are hungry, because that's what young players are. They're hungry to play, and they will play for the badge as well. Liam says there's a player in there with the Tete. He just needs to be playing week in, week out, whether it be for us or a loan. And the other option is that could he be your backup 9? So could he be the one that comes off the bench for 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the end to give the striker a break? Not the worst option, but there's other options I'd probably prefer to see, if I'm being honest. I personally would I think Atate's best bet would be, let's put him on loan. Let's have a look what else we got in these comments. Raniero says Isaac Davis needs to come back. Yeah, Isaac Davis is going to be a really fascinating decision. The manager's going to have a real good look at him in pre-season, and he's going to have to make a decision. I think he's been linked with some big, big clubs in Anderlecht and Monaco. So on one side, do you say, well, if he's good enough for them, then he's definitely good enough for us? But then on the other side, are they taking a punt because they're able to take a punt of 4 or 5 million or whatever it'll be without too much stress? Whereas with us, if we spend that on a striker or someone, it's like you can that's it, and that's your big signing. Whereas a club like the size of Monaco or Anderlecht, maybe it's not as much money, so they can have a bit of a gamble on someone who's played in the Belgian second tier. It's so difficult to judge, because he's gone out there and he's done pretty much as well as he could have. I don't think anyone could have asked more of Isaac Davis from this loan. He scored goals, he's worked hard, he's got man of the matches, he's got player of the year. He couldn't have done any more. From his point of view, all I want to see him doing now is I want to see him hit the ground running in pre-season. I would like to think he's keeping super fit over the summer, so that when that first pre-season training session happens, he can catch the manager's eye and say, no, hang on a minute, I'm your guy. I want that start in place. And that's what I would really genuinely like to see. Is he good enough? It remains to be seen. And the reason I say it's a fascinating decision is because I would assume in pre-season, before the season starts, the manager is going to have to look at him, assess him. Obviously would have followed it and had a look at his loan games over the summer as well. And he's going to have to decide, is he good enough to play for us? Is he good enough to play in the Championship week in, week out, and be relied on as kind of first choice centre forward, first choice right wing, whatever it may be? And if he's not sure, he's either got to loan him or he's got to sell him. Now, I believe that if anything over 3 million gets bid for him, that Cardiff will probably sell him, because we need to bring funds in, is my opinion. But if the manager's just not sure if he's good enough, not like he's definitely not going to be good enough for this level, or he's not good enough for me, I want someone better. If he's a bit like, I'm not quite sure, but the season's starting, maybe he would benefit from a League One loan, like a top half League One team, and then see if he goes and scores goals there. Because then if he scores goals there from the start of the season to Christmas, you can bring him back and go, right, yes, let's have him playing now. But it's going to be difficult for manager for Isaac, I think, with Isaac, should I say, because I don't think Isaac could have done any more on that loan other than maybe score like 1 or 2 more goals. But I mean, I thought his return is, compared to appearances and stuff, is really good. His stats are really good. He got player of the year and he couldn't have done any more. So it's going to be a real interesting decision, that one. Let's have a look what else we got in the comments. Paul says we need pace. That's something we've lacked for a few seasons. Yes, mate, we need pace, particularly in the wide areas. And I want to see wingers, traditional wingers, mate. And I think it would really benefit the way Bulut plays football to have wingers who go on the outside, not the inside. And you notice, if you go back and look at all Bowler's assists, I think I'm right in saying they all come from his right foot going on the outside. I don't think he gets any assists cutting in where he's looking to shoot. And I felt that really hurt the way the team played in the final third. It congested the areas and the pockets of space that people like a Ramsey or a Colwell were picking up, Turnbull picking up. So I think it's real tricky. I'm trying to find, someone made a comment about NG and I'm trying to find that area. Jeff says, is NG going? ? I'd love to keep him unless we get at least 6 million. Yeah, I said the other day, mate, that if I'm Cardiff, anything below 5 million, I'm laughing. I am not taking anything below 5. And the way I kind of justified that was, and I could only look at it through my eyes and kind of look at it and, watch and look at the stats and do a bit of research and stuff, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's only my opinion. And it's probably not my opinion which matters. But in my opinion, the 2 best right backs in the Championship last season were Walker-Peters and Perry NG. Perry did fade a little bit in the final third of the season, maybe not even that, like the last sort of few games. But I thought, from September to probably March, April time, him and Walker-Peters were the standout right backs in that league. Now, if you look at it, if Southampton were to sell Walker-Peters in the summer now, they ain't selling him for 5 million. Now, that's not me saying that we should be selling NG for 15 million or whatever. But what I'm saying is, let's not undersell. Like, I think 5 million or above is a good starting point. That's just my opinion. And I just think that we need to make, I want to see the decision on Perry NG made early. If he's going, then so be it. Let's sell him. Let's wish him well. Shake his hand. Thank you for your service. Great. Because we do need to raise funds. He is the most sellable asset. Do we want him to go? Absolutely not. But we have to be realistic. He's probably going to go. And look, if he gets a chance to have a go at Premier League football, I don't think we can begrudge him that opportunity. He's 27, 28, something like that. He deserves that opportunity for his consistency and his attitude when some others have downed tools or thrown their toys out of the pram. He has been a consistent. He always plays for the badge. Very rarely, or if ever, do you ever see him kind of half-arsing it. Very consistent in his performances. Jonathan says, Tanner and O'Dowda look decent enough, at least as backup. But if we keep Davis, I think he's also more suited to the wing. Same with Ashford. They're not strong enough to play through the middle. Yeah, I think particularly with the Ashford one, I think he's a bit slight, Ashford is. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't play through the middle. But I think, generally speaking, you need someone with a better size with him. Which is why I liked someone's idea the other day of that false 9 with Colwell and Ashford in the middle. But that's something which you'd need to work on through pre-season. So it'd be interesting if he does try any different systems, because I think all managers should have a couple of different systems in their back pocket. Tanner, I really liked his attitude to the latter part of the season. He started the season all right, had that obviously massive moment with in the Swansea home game, and then there was rumours that it kind of went to his head a little bit, and he got demoted to the 23s and was not playing at all. And then I thought he came back and he had such a good attitude. He worked every time he got on the pitch, which wasn't much, it felt like at times. Every time he would work and he was trying to beat a man. He was very direct. And I think, I agree with you, Jonathan. I think there's a player in there. I thought he looked pretty good at left back, although Syop has helped him out a little bit, covering. But I don't mind that. I quite like having a nice attacking left back. So I would definitely keep Tanner around as one of the wing options. I don't know if he starts, but then again, he's another one where if he plays week in, week out for the first 8 games of the season and he hits the ground running, do you just see like an upward curve for him? Because he's clearly got ability. And these creative and attacking players, they thrive off confidence. The more confident they get, the more they try different things, and all these different things come off, and they're just constantly just on this upward curve. And he needs to play, I think, is the main thing. But like you say, he can do a job. O'Dowda, we missed O'Dowda really, and I thought he really showed up some of the other wingers when he came back, because as soon as he came back from his injury, I thought he really showed up, particularly Bowler, maybe a little bit Grant, where they're constantly cutting in, hesitating, backwards, sideways. He was direct, ran the outside, looking to assist his teammates, looking to create for the forwards. What we lacked massively was assists. Will says, it's an interesting one. Will says, Joel Colwell played against Porto and Braga last pre-season, and he looked one of our best players. I don't necessarily think he needs to bulk up. He just needs to be given his chance. So Joel Colwell's another really interesting case, because by all accounts, one of the most highly rated players for his age in the Championship, not just in Cardiff, but by the Championship teams generally. Very, very highly rated. There's rumours, he's better than his brother and this and that. He is very slight, but that doesn't necessarily, I agree, mean that he has to bulk up. Maybe he needs to get used to playing men's football. Like the step up from the 23s to the first team is massive. And I'm not talking about the quality, because the quality is obviously a big step up. I'm talking the physicality of it and the demands on your body, the pressure you're under on the ball is massive. And I agree with you, mate. I think if he's given the chance and he has the right players around him to allow him to do what he does best, I definitely think that that's worth looking at. And I wouldn't be disappointed if he was one of the midfield options. So it's a case of wait and see. The problem is, if he does well in pre-season again, is the manager just going to keep him around and not play him? Because I do think that the age he's at now, he needs to be playing. So if we're going to do what we did last season with Joel, whereby he literally didn't play until the last couple of games of the season, and then he came on for 10 minutes or whatever, that's a waste of a season for him. Because he did travel with the first team squad a lot, which meant he probably missed a lot of 23s games. And I just wonder whether a loan with an option to recall would be better for Joel, because I think he might benefit from playing week in, week out, a bit like a Tete. It's a strange one, isn't it? It'd be really I'm going to be really interested to see some of these decisions, because I'm led to believe from people I've spoken to and what I've read, we're all led to believe a lot of these decisions have already been made. The manager and the backroom staff and the people at the club have been working on these decisions. So maybe they've already got a plan for Joel. Maybe they've already got a plan for a Tete and for Tanner and these people, these young guys. Maybe they've already got a plan for a lot of them. Like I said, though, at the start, and I've said last week as well, I really want to see Cardiff embrace. We've got all these academy prospects. We've got these highly rated players coming through, a real good bunch coming through at the moment. we've got these facilities and we've got all this fancy stuff in terms of the facilities. I want to see us utilize it. I want to see our squad of 25 or 2 players in each position, 3 in the keepers. I want to see at least a big chunk of the backup options being academy players, being the most highly rated, most what we're expecting to make it players. I want to see them in the first team squad. I want that to be part of Cardiff's DNA. I want to give them a chance, not at the end of the season when they've got nothing to play for. I want to give them a chance at the start of the season. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. Got an injury, bring them on. Trust them. See what they can do. And to a certain extent, got to sink or swim a little bit. But you've got to get, and this is where it's difficult for the manager, because it is a fine balance. Because look, he's put as we said, he's put the foundations in place last year. You know, if you add the number 9 who scores 15 goals to our season last year, probably in and around the playoffs. So what that means is it's difficult for him to balance having that DNA and building around the youngsters whilst also making sure that you're competing and pushing towards the playoffs and pushing towards the right direction in the league, because that is what it's about. And that's what the owner's going to expect. The owner needs it. The owner needs to get us to be an established Premier League club. So if we're sat at 10th at Christmas and we're playing, or like not 10th, but like sat at 15th, sort of safe from relegation, but he's playing kids, is the owner going to be happy? Maybe not. So it's a fine balance. Where's that comment gone? Sloper Roads Blue said Isaac Davis hasn't warranted enough to stay while he's played in the Championship. He played in a very poor league last year. So I understand that point of view. I can certainly see why people say it, because the Belgian, with the greatest of respect, the Belgian second tier is nowhere near the equivalent of the Championship, the second tier in this country. So it's difficult to weigh up. Sorry, first tier, not second tier. But it's difficult to weigh up where they kind of line up. So yes, his stats are good, and yes, he got Player of the Year. Like I said earlier, I don't think he could have done more with his loan period last year, and I think he's going to have to start preseason and show preseason well to get the manager's attention. I'm sure that Errol Bulut has done a lot of research and looked at his loan spell. You'd like to think that the analysts and everyone at the football club whose kind of job it is, they should all be very well versed in his season, what he did well, what he needs to work on. Was his finishing good? Was he not getting too many chances, but when he did get a chance, he was finishing them? Was he missing a lot of chances? How did he cope with the physicality? What was his fitness like? All these different things come into that decision. And whilst I understand the point that Sloper Road Blues makes, that it's when he's played in the Championship, he hasn't done a lot, and then in a poor league last year, he did okay. I do understand it, but I think he did enough that he absolutely deserves an opportunity to show, because I think he will have grown a lot mentally. He spent a year away from home, away from family. It's a very, very different scenario when you're not living with your family and living away. So it's going to be just. I'm so excited by the season now. Now that the manager's tied down and we know he's staying, and I'm going to talk about some of the backroom stuff in a minute. But I'm super excited. I just want to see them get the right players out, get some players in early doors. That's really important to me. I don't want to be sat here on deadline day, Cardiff City World, going, Cardiff are linked with this player, this player, this player. Is it going to get done by midnight? No way, sod that. I want to be sat here on deadline day going, guys, what should we talk about? Let's have a look at the season. Let's do a preview for, let's look at the academy side for the next 5. I want to be searching for content on deadline day, because we are tied up and done. Will it happen? I would like to think so, because, as I've said, for too many years, we've been reactive instead of proactive. And now is the time, with this manager tied down, with Vincent Tan looking towards, right, he wants to get his money back, so he needs to make some changes to the football structure to take the club forward, and he needs to invest in the football team to get his money back. Now is the time to really change from being reactive. Let's be proactive, let's be organised, and let's hit the ground running in every aspect, on the field, off the field, transfers, moving players out. If there's players in that squad which Bulut doesn't want, let's move them out now. As the earliest opportunity. When I say now, I mean, I think an interesting one is, I saw someone say, I've lost the comment. CG said, if NG goes, you reckon we will look into getting Cody Dramer? In my opinion, mate, we should be getting Cody Dramer regardless, because I think Romeo's done. I was very disappointed with some of the stuff which I read and heard last year with regards to Romeo and his attitude, because I had praised him around Christmas time for the way that he was always ready. He didn't play much, never seemed to complain, never caused a problem. Whenever he was called upon, he did his best. He had a good attitude. He's good on the ball. He's quite versatile. He can play a few positions. And then I started to hear some stuff, and then he was obviously disciplined. So I think him and Robinson, the manager, the club, need to shake their hands and say, look, it didn't work out. Thank you. Goodbye. And that's for them and for the football club. I think it suits all. So if Romeo goes, he's done. That's why I just said Romeo done. My missus thinks she's well funny. So you've got Jamadu Collins and Perry NG. They, at the moment, they're your first choice fullbacks. If Romeo goes, you've got Conte, I think, will be the backup right back. I'm not sure if Louis Giles will be the backup left back. He's very highly rated. He's very good, but he's very young. He's only 17. And that is a bit of pressure to have him, as like Jamadu Collins has already had one serious injury. If he was to pick up like a torn hamstring or something, which kept him out for a few months, it's a big ask. But then I suppose you've got O'Dowda there, Joe Rawls there, who could cover, or Tanner. So maybe it's not that much of a risk, actually, to have, 17-year-old Louis Giles be the backup. And then if you need someone a bit more experienced, there's a few versatile players who could go in there. But either way, Cody Dramer would be one of the first players that I think Cardiff City should try and sign. He can play left back, he can play right back. It's a no-brainer for me, absolutely, mate. If NG goes, Dramer can slot in there straight away, and you've got Conte. If NG stays and you've got Conte, and then you've got probably Dramer on the left over Collins, but you've got two good options, and you've got a young option in Giles as well. I believe that Cody Dramer and Kipper will be the first two players I would try and sign if I was Cardiff City. Jonathan says Perry NG was playing through injury towards the end of the season. Bulut admitted that. Yeah, and that's what I referred to with Perry NG, is apart from his consistency and he's good on the ball, he's good defensively, all the things that you look for in a defender in a modern game, his attitude and his commitment to the club can never be questioned. And I think that's why the majority of fans, look, no one wants to sell him, but if he goes and he leaves the right way, I think he goes with most people's blessing to go and have a go in the Premier League. And I think he'd be a cracking signing for someone as well in the Premier League as well. Jeremy says, let's hope someone is advising the board on whether they sell NG or keep him. I think, do you know what that comes down to, Jeremy? In my opinion, I think it really depends on two things, but they kind of overlap. And one is FFP. Like, we do have an FFP problem. And I think in some respects, that's why we need to bring money in more than how much Vincent Tan's going to put in. Because I think Vincent Tan understands now that if he wants to recoup the money that he's lost in his football portfolio, his best chance of doing that is either establishing Cardiff City as a Premier League club or selling a percentage of Cardiff with someone else taking over the football side. And I think he understands that, and I think he will make funds available for Bulut, certainly in the summer. Not saying like we'll have 25 million to spend by any means, but I'm just saying he'll try to give money as best he can, probably. But I think the FFP is an issue, and that's why I think we might sell Isaac Davis, because he's a homegrown player. So it's that whatever we get for him goes straight in the pot, if you like. 100% of it goes into the pot because he's a homegrown player. And Perry Ng is probably the most sellable asset. I just think, from a football point of view, there's certain players who I would deem unsellable. So from a purely football point of view, I wouldn't sell Perry Ng. I wouldn't sell McGuinness. I wouldn't sell Siopis. I wouldn't sell like the youngsters, Conte, Ashford, Joel, Ruben Colwell would be unsellable. Who else? Turnbull at the moment, I wouldn't sell. Tanner, me, and then like the rest of them, like there's probably a price where people could bid silly money and I would sell them. From a purely football point of view, they're the players who I'd want to build around in the next 5 to 10 years. But you have to be realistic. And with FFP, with the amount of money that is owed to Vincent Tan and the lack of funds that the football club has, you have to accept that we need to sell players to buy players. So, yes, we should keep Perry Ng, we should keep Isaac Davis, we should keep Ruben Colwell. You have to be honest and you have to be realistic. If we keep Perry Ng, I think we have to sell Ruben Colwell and Isaac Davis. Probably. That's not like a prediction or anything, but like if you don't sell Perry Ng, realistically, who are you going to get money in for to fund other transfers? I mean, Callum Robinson maybe, but I think there'll be clubs in for him, but I don't think you'd get big money for him because he's barely played this year. And I just don't. He's got a good scoring record, and I think he's quite, he's probably rated, but he's on big wages. I don't think you get like loads for him. Who else could you get money for? There's not like loads of sellable assets. Like there's a good few youngsters who are like highly rated, but realistically, the three which I think bring in, I think you got Perry Ng. I wouldn't accept less than 5 million for him. Colwell, I wouldn't accept. I would probably not even accept 5 for because of his age. McGuinness, I personally wouldn't sell, but I'm sure if we get like a 5 million bid for him, he'll be long gone. I wouldn't sell him because of his age and because of how he impacts the team and the way we play, but you can get other players in. So who could we sell to get money in? NG, I think Wintle probably would get you 1 or 2 million. Robinson, a little bit. I know people and I know that we are not going to get Jordan James, but because he's going to cost 5-6 million or whatever, even though they've gone down, that's the sort of price they were asking in January. He's still very highly rated. But I would ask the question to Birmingham, would you accept 1 million plus Ryan Wintle and Callum Robinson? Because both of them would absolutely tear it up in League One, and Jordan James would kill it for us. It's a good, interesting question. James says, who do you think will be the 3 starting in midfield? So do you mean like as it is now, right? So if we go on, if everybody's fit, if everyone's fit, my midfield, who do I think would start and who my midfield would be is different. So if everyone's fit, I think the manager starts, and we haven't signed anyone. The manager starts Siopis, Rolls, and Ramsey in the 10. I would start Siopis and Turnbull as a 2 with Rolls for certain games. I can't bring myself to drop Aaron Ramsey from SC, so I'd probably play Ramsey in the 10 if he's fit, and I'd probably play Ruben somewhere else. I would find a place for Ruben, because I think Cardiff City looked better with Ruben Colwell in the side last year. Let's have a look. So I see there's a bit of a debate going on about whether the Perry NG and if it's a lack of ambition to sell him. Can you imagine, right? Just on this is the last I'm going to mention Jordan James, because I've gone on a bit over the last couple of weeks. If we asked the question, 1 million if we had it, plus Robinson and Wintle in exchange for Jordan James. If you could line up with Siopis and Jordan James as your midfield 2, and then Colwell or Ramsey as your 10, and then you've got Rolls and Turnbull to come in and give people a rest. I think that's a really strong championship midfield, which complements each other. However, it's probably like we're not going to get Jordan James, but there's other players out there who fit the bill to be a good number 8 alongside Siopis. We need someone who can sit alongside Siopis, dictate on the ball, carry the ball, play through the lines, but also he's got a bit of aggression about him. I think Turnbull's got it in him, but I don't know if the manager sees him as a number 8, because Joe Rawls is not going to play every game. Rawls is a good partner for Siopis, but he's not going to play every game. So you need a genuine option. Could Joel Colwell be that option? I think in the future he could. Is it asking too much of him for him to step into it now? I think it probably is, but that's based more on the fact that he just hasn't played. So you just don't know how he'll take to it. Sloper Road Blue says, I saw something in January about us trying to sign Will Fish in the summer. Something to keep an eye on. Yeah, keep an eye on it, mate. Yeah, Belgium. People correcting me about the Belgian. I kept saying Belgian second tier, didn't I? First tier. Thank you very much. Reese says, with the rumours circulating that Errol Bulut is looking for a number 8, mate, what's your thoughts on Siopis? A new midfield man. Turnbull must be wondering why he's come here. Clearly a board, not a manager signing. Yeah, the Turnbull one's weird, mate, because the one thing I will say with Turnbull, what I've seen of him, technically a very good footballer, works hard. He's got a bit of aggression about him. He's not a number 10, mate. He's not a number 10 whatsoever. Like, he can't play with his back to goal. Hasn't really got that change of pace to beat a man. Got good vision. And but when I thought, as soon as the manager played him off the bench, I think it was a Birmingham away, when he put him in a number 8, I thought he just looked so much better. Picking the ball up, he got the ball off Siopis, and he had the pitch in front of him, played it into Colwell, played it into Ashford, but then he was going to get the return pass. I thought he looked like a real good number 8. But the manager seems to see him more as a Cam or a number 10, and I don't see that. I certainly think Colwell's ahead of him in the pecking order for that, and obviously Ramsey as well. Jonathan says that the manager wanted Besiktas, but the budget version was Turnbull. Yeah. So Wes has just said there now as well. Someone else just said about Will Fish. Something in the Telegraph in January about trying to sign him in the summer. He wouldn't be the worst option. I don't know if I'd want him. Not that I wouldn't want him. Yeah. Sorry, Jonathan, agreed. Gutas and Siopis unsellable as well. Siopis, in my opinion, is the best out-and-out defensive midfielder in the Championship. There's a couple up there with him, but I think he's just a pure defensive destroyer, cleaning up after his teammates and stuff. I don't think there's many better. The Will Fish one, if he was our first choice striker going into the season, I'm not sure if I'd be super excited. But if he was one of two strikers, I'd be comfortable with it, if that makes sense. A bit like Josh Windass. If we signed Josh Windass on a free, if he was like our main striker signing, I'd be underwhelmed a little bit. But if he's one of two strikers that we bring in, I'd be quite happy. Let's have a look. The amount of people who saying like that we should get rid of Ramsey is insane to me. But everyone's opinions is welcome, and I like listening to people's their opinions and their viewpoints and their reasons why as well. Jonathan says Perry NG isn't young. It's a good time to maximize profit, but nobody wants to lose him at the same time. But if we hold on to him, the price would plummet. And if the plummet and if form drops due to his age, I 100% agree that now is the time to sell Perry NG. I don't want him to go. And I'd rather we had a side good enough to get up this year and he'd get to the Premier League with us. But you can't begrudge him the opportunity if a Premier League club comes calling, because I believe that he's capable of playing at that level. He's like the profile of him as well. He's like 27. He's very good on the ball, set pieces, delivery from like crossing and stuff in open play. Good first touch, good with both feet. Positioning is really good. He reads the game really well. Rarely switches off when the ball comes from the other side and the back post. He's a leader as well. Talks to his teammates. He's like the perfect profile player for a Premier League side. If you think what they would look for, they don't want someone too young. Or if they do, it's someone to build for the future. Like he's ready to play now and ready to play well. I know Holton, I was thinking it was Holton, you who said about the Ruben Colwell in a false nine system with Ashford off him, which I quite like, I got to say. And I think we've got a video coming probably in a couple of weeks just to let some transfer rumours kick in. But we're going to look at some potential different systems that the manager can utilise so that we can kind of... Because as I said, any manager should have 2 or 3 systems that they can switch to. I've already told you, mate, 10 minutes. You're being rude. My son, impatient and rude, just while I'm speaking to 250 people. But there we go. So that's just the joys of being a dad, teenagers. I apologise to everyone. So yeah, we're going to do a video looking at the different systems that we could utilise, because I think false nine is a good one. I think 3-5-2 is a good one, and then obviously his basic system. But I think all managers should have a couple of systems where they can go bang and change straight away. So there's an interesting one. Jonathan says, Ebo Adams, Rina Moto, Isaac Davis, Perry NG, Mark McGuinness, Romeo, Callum Robinson, and Ruben Colwell combined would bring in a nice budget, but it would leave us very thin on the ground. I've got to be honest, mate. If we sold all of those players this summer, I would be very worried, particularly if we sold NG, McGuinness, and Ruben. I would really be worried. Adams obviously is going to go. Rina Moto is going to go. Isaac Davis remains to be seen. I think Perry NG probably goes. So the first 4 of them are more, not unlikely. McGuinness, I think we should keep. Romeo, Robinson, everyone knows my opinion on those two. It's just time to say goodbye. Will Fish. Who am I thinking of then if he's centre back? I'm thinking of someone. That's going to bug me. Who was I thinking of then? That's going to really bug me. I'm going to have to go search it now to find who I was thinking of. Let's have a go. Yeah, cheers, guys. Cheers, Will. Okay. So let's have a look. Holton says, my problem with Ramsey is he's stopping people coming through. He's Lambert 2.0. Interesting. I do think, look, I think, for instance, Ruben Colwell should have been in the starting 11 way before he was last year, even if we had to play him wide. Yeah, that might be who I was thinking of. Will Evans. He's going to bug me, though. Because I know I don't know him. I know someone who knows him, Will Fish. So I knew he was something. But there we go. Such is life. Right, guys, then we look to wrap up. I will give 3 minutes to ask any questions you want to ask before we chip off. But I'm going to just touch on, I don't know if the club officially announced Rowbury as the assistant manager. Just having a quick look. So effectively what I was told yesterday and about a week ago was that Rowbury was the assistant manager. They were bringing in a couple of analysts and having a bit of a backroom rejig. So it wasn't quite going to be why Geordie boy. It wasn't necessarily going to be the full structural change, but it was going to effectively, they were going to bring in a couple of analysts. They were going to bring in Rowbury and maybe one or two others to kind of rejig everything. But, so look, first of all, that's good. I think Rowbury is an exceptional appointment. One of the most highly rated coaches about at the moment. And I know, like, the Welsh FA absolutely love him. He's a real good coach, a real good go-between the manager and the players as well. But on like that football structure side of things, people know my opinion. It's not so much the coaches and the analysts. I do think we have needed an upgrade on, but it was more like we need football people making the football decisions, whether that be transfers, whether that be who we're scouting, who we're keeping, who we're getting rid of. Other than the manager, like there needs to be someone football. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was just saying there. Like Rowbury, a couple of analysts, and some other tweaks to the coaching, which is interesting because Bulut had some of his guys in last year, so he obviously wasn't happy with certain elements of the structures. So it's going to be an interesting one. Liam says, if you could bring in any realistic striker to be our main number 9, who would you pick? Wow. See, that's a difficult one. So these wouldn't be the main number 9, but as a striker option, these are a couple of the players who I'd like to look at. The lad from Plymouth, which Jonathan mentioned earlier on, Hardy, is it? He'd be probably a main option, actually. The lad for Will Evans from Newport, not as a first choice option, but I'd certainly have a look at him. I think he's a real good player. He's got a great story as well, but I think he's worth a punt as a backup striker. I'd have a look at Illich again, because apparently he hasn't settled where he went, so I think he might potentially be available. Free transfers, I would have a look at Josh. I'd speak to Josh Windass. He scores goals in the Championship. He can play up front. He can play wide. He can play in the number 10. Those versatile players are handy to have, and he's Championship ready. So I would definitely have a look at him. There was someone else on the free transfer list who I liked. I can't remember who it was. Anyone who watched that video, I think it was a Blackburn player. But I think he was more of a wide player than a striker. It's difficult. Look, if we could go to Kiefer Moore and get it done quickly, like I said at the start of the show, with Kiefer Moore, if you go to him and say, Would you be interested in coming? Yes. No. If he does, if he's interested, I would. Kiefer Moore would be real good if Kiefer Moore was the focal point of our 11 with Colwell and Ramsey behind, and then two out and out pacey wingers with a real good number 8 alongside Siopis, young attacking fullbacks, a Cody Dramer, Conte, whoever it may be. There's a couple of loan options at fullback as well, which are quite interesting. We could really build around Kiefer Moore, but what I don't want to do is waste all summer trying to get it done. Like, I'm not interested in that whatsoever because I think there are other options. I'm just having a look at my list, mate. Bear with me a second, because there was, like, a lot of it depends on what we've got money wise. Because, like, Shea Adams is available on a free in the summer. I would assume that he's on relatively big wages, but he's a bloody good striker. Who else was there? Oh, it's going to bug me. I mean, technically, Jamie Vardy is available on a free, but not really interested in him. Tom Bradshaw's available on a free. I'm getting sucked into the frees again. With Shea Adams, that's what I said. His wages would be outrageous. I'm sure far too much out of our reach. How old's Ched Evans? He's probably got to be like 34, 35, maybe 36, 35, I reckon. I think he's on a free, but I don't know. Like, I'm not sure he's up to championship level. Like, if we want to really push forward. Tell you what, Liam, you've tickled my brain a bit there, mate. So what I'm going to do next week, I'll do 5 strikers that Cardiff City should look at video, and I'll do deep dive and have a real good research into it. And I'll come back to you with a list of 5 strikers that I think Cardiff should have a look at for various reasons. I was really playing, mate. Sinclair Armstrong is a good shout, mate. He's a good player, good little player. I like him. What did he's not that. He's only 20 odd, isn't he? Sinclair Armstrong. He plays wide as well, I believe. Sinclair Armstrong. How many goals? Loads. Right. So Paul Abandonado saying that Cardiff City's wages this season, we are going for it. Sinclair Armstrong is a good shout, mate. 20, I thought he was. Reese says there was a big deal for the former Shakhtar Donetsk scout joining us. They've usually like to sign South American wonder kids on a free or cheap and sell them for silly money. Why can't we do that? All comes down to scouting, mate, doesn't it? All comes down to scouting, because ultimately, if you get them in young, they can be a good money-making process. Like, that's what Benfica and Porto have done for years. They get these guys in for like 15, 20 million, which I know is outside our price range, but I just mean there's others in there. But they'll get them in for like 15, 20 million or less. They have like 2 or 3 good seasons, and then they whack them out for like 100 mil. Just unbelievable, but it's like a constant revenue stream for them. Yeah, but Jonathan, so Sinclair Armstrong is 20. You say that he scored 3 goals last season. Very fast and powerful, very raw, but looks full of potential. I think that's the sort of winger stroke striker, top 6 wages. I got you. Sort of striker that we like, winger or striker that we need, like raw, out and out pace. And we've always done quite well with that type of striker as well. Like, I look back, like when Cameron Jerome, I know he's not popular, but when he broke into the starting 11 with Cardiff, he was raw as folk. Wasn't the ready-made article. But we played some great football with him up front. Some really good stuff. Arsenal have got rid of 22 players. Some good youth on that list. Is Runnison on our list? Let's sign him up. What a player. Guys, that's me done for this evening. As always, really appreciate the time, the comments, interaction. I'm very happy to say Cardiff City have announced that Errol Bulut is signed for 2 years. Really happy to say signed, sealed and delivered. Hopefully we'll get the further announcements now about the backroom staff, the assistants and stuff. And hopefully what they're kind of putting out there in terms of transfers in and out, being that they're ready to hit the ground running. Hopefully that is the case and it's not fluff to the media and stuff like that. And we can really make a good crack at it, because I believe that if we back Errol Bulut and allow him to get who he wants in, who he wants out, I believe that he's the right man to take Cardiff forward and actually build something quite special at Cardiff City. But he does need to sort out the way we play football at home. Make no mistake. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will be back, remember, tomorrow night, the Flower Hour, with ex-Wales and Cardiff City midfielder John Robinson joining the boys. We've got a new episode of Terry Phillips' History of Cardiff City later on this week. We've also got Friday night lights with myself and Pan. We're doing it in person on Friday, so we're going to have a couple of beers and have a good old argument. And, of course, we've got some Wales content, some old-time Wales 11s. Oh, that reminds me. Earlier on, Steve from the Cardiff City phone-in sent me a video, 60 seconds. He gave a Welsh all-time 11. His had a bit of a twist. But we've set a challenge on Facebook. So you can either send it to me on Facebook or you can send it to email cardiffcityworld@gmail.com. If you can send your all-time Welsh 11, video it in 60 seconds or less, and you get chosen as having the best one, we'll have a little prize for the winner. So email cardiffcityworld@gmail.com or message me on Facebook with the video. All it's got to be 60 seconds or less, 60 seconds or less, and it's just got to be your Wales all-time 11 as quick as you can off the top of your head. If you haven't got your tickets for Joe Ledley, please do get them now. 6th of July, Splott Con Club. Ace Podcast Nation presents City Legends with Joe Ledley. Tickets are just £10. There's only a few left. Limited availability now, so get involved. Description to this episode on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms. The email address is on there. It's also been going across the screen for the whole episode. Do it. They're great nights. £10 is a bargain. And it'd be nice to put a face to some of these names. Thank you very much, as always. Make sure you check out the Flower Hour. Make sure you're subscribed to Cardiff City World. Give Ace Podcast Nation a follow. And if you're not a member of Ace Podcast Nation, you should be. Because if you were, you would have known about Errol Bulut before it broke in public. Thank you very much. In a bit.